This chapter focuses on Six Sigma teams. We'll delineate the different roles in the process improvement project team. Now, we usually follow the text sequence of their materials for most chapters. In this chapter, however, will somewhat diverge from their order, though the general content is largely the same. The text first highlights the high-level role of organizational leadership for Six Sigma, including an executive leader council who defines the strategic direction and deployment plan for the overall Six Sigma program. While they don't tend to get involved in the day-to-day details of Six Sigma projects, leadership at the enterprise level serves many roles, including creating the rationale for the use of Six Sigma in the organization, supporting an overall culture of process improvement, and aligning Six Sigma initiatives with the goals of the business, as well as advocating for resources and funding for projects, holding teams and the organization accountable for improvements and performance, including reviewing project results. Next, communicating wins and losses in an honest manner, and finally, rewarding teams and individuals for Six Sigma successes. The rest of the chapter primarily focuses on the functional Six Sigma team, meaning the employees who will execute the Six Sigma process improvement projects. At a minimum, this team will include a Six Sigma leader, likely a black belt, but possibly a green belt, and a process owner. They're responsible for the process to be improved, as well as a process expert, the subject matter expert, who might also be the process owner, and then budgeting and accounting expertise. Then, depending on the project, teams may also include ad hoc, as needed support from technical resources such as programmers and database experts, human resources, HR, compliance and legal, and other necessary departments. The text calls this ancillary. The text recommends small teams, such as 5 or so members. With larger teams, communication and brainstorming can become unruly. Additionally, regular team members should only serve on one team to make sure that they're not spread too thin. Recall that black belts are often the only resources working on the project full time. So it's a side hustle, meaning extra work for everyone else. A few key general criteria for selecting team members include willingness and ability to work toward improvement, and knowledge about the process and the customer. We'll now discuss the different roles for Six Sigma process improvement projects. As a summary, sponsors or champions are senior level leaders who oversee projects at a high level. More on the day-to-day side, Six Sigma leaders are typically black belts or possibly green belts on smaller initiatives. They apply Six Sigma methods. And then process owners are directly responsible for the process in a leadership capacity, and they receive the solution, meaning the improved process at the end of the project. So they work hand in hand with the Six Sigma leader. Then team members can be categorized as regular team members who participate in all activities of the team. And moving forward, we'll just refer to these resources as team members. This diverges from the text a bit, which refers to all roles as team members. So we'll differentiate the regular team members from ad hoc team members. They provide expertise on an as-needed basis, And then resource team members, they participate even less frequently than the ad hoc team members. Next, in some organizations, project managers take on project administrative roles to free up the black belts. And then scribes record information from brainstorming and team sessions, and timekeepers keep meetings on track. And then master black belts provide oversight and deep expertise across several projects. We'll next dig into more details for each of the roles, starting with the sponsor, also called the champion. Sponsors are senior level leaders who oversee projects at the highest level. So black belts report to them. Sponsors provide critical high level roles, including holding accountability for the project results, liaising between the project team and the executive leadership council, obtaining funds and resources such as money, labor, equipment, and support from other departments, and then coaching the project team, particularly at the project charter stage, providing clarity on the project scope and team member selection. And finally, handling corporate politics. Next is the business or process owner. Here, we'll just call them owners. Owners are directly responsible for the process to be improved. So they play a critical role with the Six Sigma leader on the project, including receiving the improved process at the end of the project, and usually acting as the, or at least one, process expert, providing insight into the existing process, customer needs, employees, and data. Now, the text warns of owners who may work against the project, sometimes covertly because they're resistant to change, or they believe that they have all the answers, or they're afraid that others will outshine them and or threaten their position. The reality is that the owners have their process under the organizational microscope, which will no doubt reveal problems. Realize that every problem is an opportunity for improvement, but many people are defensive and do not appreciate exposing problems that may be considered their original responsibility. A positive owner will embrace the help with their process, though Six Sigma leaders may have to gently foster that mindset through a trusting work relationship. As a former consultant, I always like to say, I'm here to make you look good, and you'll get all the credit. Next is the Six Sigma leader. Six Sigma leaders are usually certified black belts, and they work on one team, meaning one project at a time, at least usually. Though green belts may lead smaller initiatives for some organizations, particularly where black belt expertise is limited relative to project opportunities. And Six Sigma leaders may be internal employees who serve in a consultancy role throughout the organization, or they may be external and hired in as consultants. Regardless, Six Sigma leaders apply their expertise, including holding primary responsibility for the work performed by the team, and helping create the project rationale and selecting team members, and then leading teams through the DMAIC phases, including educating the team on Six Sigma tools and providing expertise on statistical analyses, and then reporting to the executive sponsor on a regular basis, and finally, assisting with project transition, including documentation at the end of the project. Continuing with regular team members. The text refers to most of the other roles as team members, though here we'll characterize regular team members as employees working on the project, but not in one of the other roles, such as the Six Sigma leader or the process owner. Regular team members support the project, including participating in brainstorming sessions, discussions, and other team activities, and performing work as requested by the project leader, including collecting data and performing analyses under the direction of the Six Sigma leader, and then also reporting results to the team and reviewing work done by other team members. Next, we consider the scribe or minute taker and the timekeeper. One regular team member may be appointed as a scribe or minute taker. Scribes create notes, including tracking follow-ups and other expected actions, and preparing charts, graphs, and diagrams, and disseminating notes, including seeking clarifications to ensure that team members are all on the same page. Likewise, a regular team member may be appointed as a timekeeper, applying the agenda and expected time for tasks and meetings, thereby gently keeping meetings on track and reducing scope creep. So the text recommends organized, level-headed resources for the timekeeper role. Next up are the master black belt and possibly a project manager. The master black belts guide multiple Six Sigma projects at a high level, including solving especially difficult problems and conducting the most complex statistical analyses and providing continuing education to the black belts and green belts. Some larger organizations use project managers who take on administrative project roles without leading the actual team, such as supporting the Six Sigma lead with documentation and timelines, including keeping meetings on track and ensuring follow-up. The big idea here is to free up Six Sigma experts to concentrate on brainstorming, statistical analyses, and other project work. We now move on to discuss conducting Six Sigma projects relative to the project plan and schedule. Quoting from the text, scheduling and maintaining that schedule is an integral part of the Six Sigma project process. Without effective scheduling, employees can feel trapped in a project that never seems to accomplish much or reach the finish line. So the text presents two ways to manage a project timeline: the phase-based timeline and the critical path method. First, the phase-based timeline creates a high-level timeline for each of the DMAIC steps: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. This can be done quite quickly, but it can be easy to misjudge the required times without guidance from experienced Six Sigma leaders. Second, the critical path method creates a more detailed timeline based on specific tasks, including the sequence of the tasks. As the name says, the critical path method finds the longest, meaning the slowest, task sequence. This critical path must be managed tightly, otherwise the project will not meet the deadlines. Milestone meetings, sometimes called tollgate reviews, gather the project team with a project sponsor and even occasionally the executive leadership team. The point is to update the sponsor about findings and results, as well as keep the team on track. There is nothing like a meeting deadline to motivate action. We'll next briefly touch on budgets, which reflect planned expenses for the project. Realize that every project has expenses, and improving a process may require significant cash outlays from the organization. So, money is easy to measure, but organizations tend to be extremely cautious about spending it. Quoting from the text, teams and especially team leaders must always be concerned with project budgets. To a great extent, project leaders will be measured on both time and budget. Sometimes the budget, including expenses, is not shared with the entire team. So if the team is not aware of the financial drivers of the project, they'll likely not be aligned on the project goals and tasks. In that case, the project leadership and the rest of the team are marching to different drummers, which is not good for the project. So it's often best to share all project drivers, including financial ones. In that same vein, the entire team needs to be on the same page as to what project success means. In other words, how will we know that we've succeeded or perhaps fallen short? Otherwise, scope creep can emerge, causing projects to endlessly extend and lose momentum.